Well, hello and welcome to In the Growth Space. I'm your friend David McGlennon, and I'm really glad that you've joined me here once again. If this is a return to you, thanks for joining me once again. If this is your first time listening in, well, hey, welcome. Really glad to have you along. I built the podcast to just talk about growth in a lot of different ways. Growth around our companies, growth around our teams, growth around our personal development, our emotional intelligence, everything growth. And so what I wanted to do today is just offer you kind of a little sneak peek behind the scenes and tell you a little bit about what's happening with me and where I've been growing and what's up with impact leadership consulting. And I know that I've had a lot of questions about the post I did on LinkedIn about having a fractional CEO role. And so I thought what I'd do is just share some of the personal things that are going on behind the scenes, what my personal and professional growth has been looking like. And what are some of those areas that I'm facing in terms of growth? And so I wanted to take a time here on a solo episode to do that. I don't often do solo episodes. I really enjoy getting to meet and learn from other leaders, and I've had some amazing ones on recently. I had Ken Schmidt from the Harley Davidson company, who is part of the massive turnaround with Harley Davidson. I've had Greg Fuhrer, who's an incredible leader, who I know that you really enjoyed that conversation as well. And I've had a lot of different others. I know I've had Regina Bryan on not too long ago, where we talked about emotional intelligence. And so I really love learning from guests. And I also have been just challenged with being able to do my solo episodes. And so I wanted to do a couple of solo episodes, especially as we are getting close to our 200th episode. Pretty amazing that over a period of almost 5 years now that we'll get to 200 episodes. And so anyway, what I wanted to share today is a little bit more about just my own personal growth and some of the things that I've been working on personally and professionally. Our growth has been really amazing in a lot of ways here at Impact Leadership Consulting. It's expanding. I've worked with both executive leadership teams as well as individual executives in a one-on-one coaching relationship. We've facilitated strategic planning sessions lately, and ones that I will say, I don't think they suck. I think strategic planning meetings often have this perception of, this meeting's got to suck in order for it to be good. And personally, I disagree. I think we can have facilitated conversations where we really unlock the collective wisdom, the collective intelligence of the leadership teams, and do it in a way that's both fun as well as impactful. And so tapping into that wisdom and the intelligence of the leaders that are in the room, there's an approach to do that, and it's a different approach, and it's one that, as I'm recording this, I'm actually going through a certification process in order to be a certified guide in the exchange approach. It's a methodology that was built by a guy by the name of John Berghoff, and John was actually on our show here at the beginning of season 4. I think it was episode 168, if I'm not mistaken. And his approach, the exchange approach, is based on the science of appreciative inquiry. And an appreciative inquiry was pioneered by a guy up at Case Western Reserve University up in Cleveland, a guy by the name of Dr. David Cooperrider. And that pioneering research showed that if we ask questions in a different way, we will get a different result. It's really a strengths-based approach to asking questions. And one of the things that both John and Dr. Cooperrider talk about in this work and in this approach is the fact that the questions that we present and the questions that we consider are really a lot like our glasses. They're like the lenses of our glasses. When we put on our lenses, the image that we see changes before it even gets into our eyes. And so questions are fateful. Questions change the future before it arrives. And so taking a different approach, taking an appreciative approach does a couple of things. And one of those things is that it changes the way we approach problems, because we could bridge the deficit gap. In other words, hey, we have this problem, and we could ask a question about solving that problem, or we could ask a different question about a possibility. Well, if we have this problem and we just want to solve the problem, all we're doing is closing the deficit gap. However, if we ask a question like, what could be possible, what might be possible, we're going to get a whole different outcome and a whole different result. And that is a different approach to strategic planning. It's a different approach to not only just solving problems, but also creating team cohesiveness. And so I've found that approach has helped me to have an impact with companies, with cohesive leadership teams, and really helping them to grow, not only in the way they're approaching their business, but also just in the growth path of the business. And so I just wanted to share that with you at the top of this podcast, but then really just share about my own growth space and where that has been recently. And I'll share with you just around the post that I did on LinkedIn about my new fractional CEO role. And so really what happened is that one of my longtime coaching clients engaged me in this fractional CEO role because it was a pivotal time in her life, in the founder of this company's life, that she needed some help in stepping away from some of the day-to-day operations, as well as strategically leading the company into the next phase of their growth. And so I honestly, it was interesting because it just happened. It wasn't something that I planned. And I think that sometimes our growth can be things that we didn't really plan, but they just kind of come to us. And so this is an area of growth and an opportunity to impact companies that I, quite frankly, hadn't expected. And yet I'm able to have an impact in a different way. And so this is a growth area for me. I've never done this before. I have been a CEO, and I have led a company before. I've led multiple companies, but it's a shift. It's a shift in how I can make an impact. But I'm super excited for it. And even as I look at my capacity, I can take on one more fractional CEO role this year. And that's really leading to the next area of my growth, and that is managing my calendar and, quite frankly, deciding what projects I must say yes to and which ones I have to say no to, because I'm really looking at things now through the lens of what's aligned with my purpose, what's aligned with my vision for the company and for my own personal life as well. And so I'm having to say no to certain projects, certain time investments that is different than I have in the past. And so, yeah, I'm just growing in that area. I don't like to say no to things. I'm an opportunity seeker. I love seeking new opportunities, new ways to impact companies and leaders and people. And so this is a new area of growth for me. And actually, as I think about the things that I'm saying yes to and the things that I'm saying no to, one of the things that is under consideration at this point is actually my podcast. And I'm thinking about what I should do with it. Is it something that I should continue? Is it something that maybe I should just change up? And so I'm actually just reevaluating its purpose, reevaluating how it fits into my overall vision, and just taking time to evaluate that. So I'm not making any decisions right now, but it's a growth area for me. It's a growth area to explore how this podcast fits into everything else that I'm doing and everything that I want to do at this season of my life. And this season of my life is different. Now that I've entered my 60s, I'm really able to impact leadership teams and companies in new ways that, quite frankly, I never thought was possible, or I never had really thought about them in the way that I've been able to impact companies. And one of the things that has really been an awareness shift for me is that I've been able to really crystallize my business experience, my personal experience, my just all of the things in my life up until this point that have helped me to be who I am. And I'm able to crystallize those experiences, and it's helped me to ask better questions. It's helped me to share my perspective, and really in both of those things, it's helped me to impact companies and executive leadership teams that I've in a way that I've never done before. And so this is a growth area for me, and it's actually a new awareness, and it's really fulfilling. I'm really super grateful that I'm at the season of my life. And speaking of season of life, I'm really looking at my focus, and focus for me is another area of growth, because as I said earlier, I love opportunities. I love being able to have almost like a smorgasbord of opportunities. I love to be able to kind of taste a lot of different things, and I love to experience a lot of different things. Adventure is one of my high values, and because there are abundant opportunities, it takes focus for me in order to make the biggest and the most impact that I can. And so focusing on how I can have a generative growth impact on companies that are not only growing themselves, but also getting ready for a season change. Season change meaning they're passing the leadership torch from one generation to the next generation. There's a lot of those right now. There's a lot of companies that are passing the torch to the next generation. And one of the passions that I have is for getting ready to get the next generation of leaders ready to accept the torch and to be able to lead in the new business world that we live in, and just getting them understanding how to run and how to lead a business and what it takes. And so I've really been focusing on my Emerging Leader Academy. We started a new cohort at the beginning of this year, the beginning of 2025. And we're planning to start at least one, maybe two more cohorts in the coming quarters. I know that right now we have a goal to start 2 cohorts in April. And so be watching for your opportunity to do that. If you're an emerging leader and you want to join one of these cohorts, we're going to offer a free to the public webinar and workshop that will, with one of my colleagues, we'll be able to open that up. And I'll share more about that a bit later. But that's one of the focuses that I've been really lasered in on is the Emerging Leader Academy, and helping emerging leaders to grow and to be ready to accept the torch of leadership from their senior leaders. And whether that's a small business, I've been working with a lot of small family businesses. I came from a small family business and I grew up in a small family business. And so it's one of my passions. Some of you know my story, and you know, my dad passed away suddenly when I was a fairly young leader, and I really didn't feel like I was prepared, and so it's one of the reasons why I really want to be able to make sure that the next generation of leaders are prepared. The other focus that I have right now is on leadership teams and convening leadership teams in a way that both facilitates their cohesiveness, but also taps into their brilliance and helps them to unlock the strategies that they need to take, and to really even crowdsource the way that they need to move forward in the business. And so convening leadership teams is and facilitating them is really an art, and it's one in which I'm learning to do better as a facilitator, as a certified guide from the exchange approach. And so I'm being certified right now through the exchange approach, and super challenged with that, but also super grateful to be able to be a better facilitator and bring the facilitation gifts that I feel like God has given me to leadership teams, and helping them to have conversations and have choreographed conversations that will move them forward in their growth. And then really finally, the third area of my focus is one-to-one coaching. And yet I have reduced the number of personal clients and personal one-on-one coaching clients that I have available because of some of these other obligations. And I'm being very careful about who I am engaging with on a one-to-one basis. Most of them are from either the fractional CEO roles, some of the leadership teams that I'm working with, or just some long-time or long-standing clients. However, I will say that one of the things that I am doing to grow in the one-to-one executive coaching space is that I'm utilizing somebody who I trust implicitly as a world-class coach, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of trust to be able to share a one-to-one relationship, especially if I'm not able to handle or take that engagement. And so some of you know Andy Hall. Andy Hall has been on this podcast several times, and I'm so grateful for not only his friendship, but also his professional approach and how he has been developing coaches. So he has his own coaching certification, and he teaches coaches to be coaches, and he's the consummate coach. He's the ultimate coach. And so he's been my coach for a number of years. And we've also done some work with his intellectual property called Leader as a Coach. So it's a way to be able to take leadership teams through a process that helps them to be a coaching leader. And it's an amazing program. And if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to me. I can help facilitate those conversations and create some opportunities there, because it kind of falls into the category of my focus on convening executive leadership teams. And and speaking of teams, as I think about the way I've grown and the way I am growing, it is through my teams as well. My team, Andy Hall is part of my team. He and I have been working together on some clients, some shared clients, in terms of that Leader as a Coach program, and showing leaders how to be more effective as they coach and as they implement a coaching approach to their leadership. And so that's been a lot of fun and a lot of opportunity to grow together. And my administrative assistant, Karen Fasulo, she challenges me often with my calendar, and she's really helping me to look at my calendar in new ways and in different ways, especially through the lens of my focus and the things that I've shared with you here today. Karen is not only a great administrator for me, but she's led sessions at our last summit. She's led breathwork sessions, and she's come to our Leader as a Coach sessions sometimes and leads breathwork. And it's a great. She has a great skill set, and if you are in need of someone to help you, she and her executive leadership team can also help you in terms of managing your priorities, managing your calendar, helping you think through strategic priorities. And one other thing before I forget to kind of circling back to our summit, we did not have a summit last year. However, I am at this point planning an inner circle summit in October of this year, 2025, in case you're listening sometime later. If you're listening to this episode later than October of 2025, we are planning to have an inner circle summit. And so for those of you who are in our Emerging Leader Academy, this will be part of your learning journey. And some of you may even get an opportunity to speak at the summit. So stay tuned for more on the summit. But the other part of my team that largely goes unnoticed and behind the scenes is my podcast team. Both Aiden and Molly, they work tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that our guests look great and our clips are great and our quotes are great. The show notes are accurate. And so I just want to say a very grateful thank you to the podcast team. And again, that's something that we're looking at and just trying to decide is how do we handle this? Is it a different approach that we need to take? Is it a different cadence? Is it less frequent? Is it something that we're going to do at all? And so all of those things are really on the table right now. The last thing that I'll share is really around my annual sabbatical. I am going to take one this year again. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be in September this year, and that's really based on some travel that Cindy and I really want to do. Right now, we're planning to head to Ireland and to Portugal during my sabbatical. It'll be my second time to Portugal, but my first time to Ireland. Cindy's been to Ireland before. I love travel. One of my high values is travel and encountering other cultures and other people from other cultures. So honestly, this sabbatical is going to be a great opportunity for me to really pour into that value. So those are some things that I'm working on. Those are some things that have been challenging me in my own growth space. And some parts of this really take me way outside my comfort zone. Some parts of it, I'm just on the edge of my comfort zone. But all of it is really helping me to learn and to grow and to develop in new ways. And, one of the things that I'll say too, just as I close this episode, is that being in your growth space and being in a place where you are continuing to grow and to learn and to develop, it's a lifelong pursuit. It's something that I share with the emerging leaders that I help, is that it is a lifelong pursuit. Just because you feel like you get to one level doesn't mean that you have to stay there. As a matter of fact, if you get to stay there too long, you'll begin to really go backwards. And so I never want to do that. I always want to continue to keep developing, to keep growing, to keep exploring, to be everything that God has created me to be. And so what that requires of me is continuing to expand my growth space, to expand my comfort zone. And in order to do that, I've got to do some things that I'm afraid of and some things that I'm afraid to do, but I press into that fear. I don't let that hold me back, and I do it anyway. And I would encourage you the same thing. I would encourage you to press into those things that are maybe making you a little bit fearful. Maybe they're making you feel like you just want to kind of cower back or step back into safety, into your comfort zone. And I would just encourage you to not do that, to keep stepping forward, to keep pressing into that discomfort zone. Find people that can come around you that will help support you, that will push you outside of your comfort zone so that you can continue to learn, to grow, and to develop into all that God has built you to be and created you to be. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you today. I hope that in some way this has helped you. I hope that this has inspired you. Please do me one small favor before we head out. Would you just take a moment to whatever podcast app you're on, would you scroll to the place where you can give us a rating, and hopefully it's a 5-star rating. And also while you're there, if you would just offer maybe a short review. Maybe it's something from this episode that struck you, that hit you, that maybe challenged you. I would love for you to share just maybe one sentence or two about what you feel the impact this podcast has been for you. It would really mean the world to me, and we'd really appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining me once again. Until next time, stay in that growth space and be well.